beneath 21,000 feet of Pacific Ocean, approximately 6,500 meters or 4 miles. The wreckage of the USS Johnston, one of the most heroic destroyers of World War II, lay hidden for decades. When her debris field was finally discovered in 2019, it offered a glimpse into the past. But what exactly were we seeing? In this video, we'll explore some of the artifacts found deep in the abyss, from twisted gun mounts, propellers, to pieces of the deck, and compare them with their preserved counterparts on the museum ship USS Kidd. Join us as we bridge the gap between history on the ocean floor and the stories still told on deck.
That's based on eyewitness testimony, because one of the crew members by the name of Hollenbaugh, he stuck his head out of the shell hole and started shoveling powder over the side so it wouldn't accidentally detonate. But he had a cigarette dangling from his lips.
All right, show me that.
Okay, that is the starboard propeller shaft.
Okay, and so
we got to walk all the way down.
Okay, but you haven't even looked. How do you know it's the starboard propeller shaft?
Well, you see this little access panel here?
Yeah.
And the position of the strut, that's going to be different between port and starboard.
Without that access panel, the strut, that could be anywhere.
Right.
But because of the orientation between the two, tells you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Park Stevenson was a member of the Caladan Oceanic Expedition that eventually located the hull of the USS Johnston in 2021. He was in the submersible that went 4 miles under the ocean to explore the shipwreck. But 2 years before that, underwater cameras operated by Vulcan Incorporated aboard the RV Petrel found bits of debris they suspected could have been from the famed USS Johnston. Parks is now the director of the USS Kidd Veterans Museum, which operates a surviving World War II Fletcher-class destroyer. He's comparing that debris on the ocean floor with its preserved counterparts still visible on the USS Kidd.
Well, because this point here is where the strut comes in, right?
Yes.
You don't know which.
So it's
you don't know
torn
which
off there.
strut.
Yeah, it's cut off there on here. You can see it's only a little stub.
Yeah. So this access would be further.
No,
well, if here are the
it's supposed to be over here, but it's been covered up.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I hold it like this, obviously those are the bolts for the propeller.
Yes.
And this is the strut up there. So then there would be an access panel somewhere like up there, which it looks like this has been cut.
Yeah, no, this has been this is
so
all
it would be
new.
like it would be more
this
like
is all
over.
new.
This would be more like over here.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the bare propeller shaft right
Yes. Now, that's the port propeller. Now, the way I originally saw this is because these bolts don't match to the end of this shaft. If this is the starboard shaft, then that's the port propeller because of the bolts. But you can also tell which is which by looking at the direction that the prop goes. So you see here, it goes this way, but if you look at our starboard prop here, it's opposite.
Okay.
So you'll find the match over there on that prop.
So looking at it here.
Yeah, so you're looking at it from about this aspect here, and you see how the blades curve this way. So this is the port prop here.
So how does a propeller become detached from the shaft?
By violent forces.
So that's literally what it was.
Yes.
And these bolts would be attaching the propeller to the shaft.
Yes.
So the next thing I want to see.
This is actually a piece of port side main deck. And what I can show you from down here.
How do you know that?
Because there's only one spot on the ship where you will see two closed chocks and a set of bits. The two chocks and the pair of bits in between them. Now, it V'd right there. And you can't see the other chalk. The other chalk was ripped directly off the deck. It's up here. It's totally ripped away. All you see is where the chalk was.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Places.
Oh, I can see the top of the bit.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, I totally can.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, so it goes chalk, bit, chalk.
Right forward of this, which is up here,
Yeah.
is where the first of Yamato's 46 centimeter shells hit Johnston. So it didn't cause this. This happened later, this V of it, but this was torn up here. This end is torn because of a shell from Yamato.
Okay.
The depth charge in the port rack over here exploded, and that's what caused that piece of deck to go like in like a V. So right here, the depth charge would have blown all this up, and that's why it's a V, like that. But definitely, it was a large explosion that caused this, and it wasn't like this before Johnston sank. So this happened afterward, and that's just a big piece of main deck that's torn off. And this is about where, right in this area here, there were 3 hits from Yamato. One there, and the one that hit here, I know exactly where it hit because it cut a depth charge in half and spilled its explosive contents all over the deck. That's based on eyewitness testimony.
Oh. Okay.
Because one of the crew members by the name of Hollenbaugh, he stuck his head out of the shell hole with a lit cigarette and started shoveling powder over the side so it wouldn't accidentally detonate. But he had a cigarette dangling from his lips.
Well, how do you know that?
Eyewitness testimony.
Really?
Yes, from the crew.
Okay.
Because the guys up there in 45, they looked down on him and saw him with the lit cigarette, and he goes, "What are you shoveling over?" And he said, "Oh, this is from the depth charge." He said, they ran for cover because they thought he was about to blow them up. So the third one went into the deck house below the torpedo mount up there, and that is still on the wreck, and you can see the hole that it made into the deck house there. So that was Yamato's first salvo that hit Johnston. On the wreck, you see where Mount 53 is right there.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's on a deck house.
Yeah.
That deck house is gone, and right underneath that deck house is where the ship is broken in half on the seafloor. And there's this long strake. Strake is a row of metal plates in the hull. There's a long strake right underneath the main deck there that is peeled away forward. Everything forward of that is the main wreck site. Everything after that is in Vulcan's debris field, but it's all blown to shit. It's all twisted, torn metal, and only occasionally do you have some intact artifacts, like the propeller shaft or the propeller, things like that. It was the forward 2/3 of the ship. It's in the main, I guess you call it main debris field. It's the single piece of debris.
Okay.
And then everything else is scattered in another debris field about 400 meters shallower, and that's what Vulcan looked at. But they didn't just find stuff torn off the deck. The entire emergency steering room, which is inside the hull, was lying there. It looks like it was blown out the bottom of the vessel. So the condition of the pieces of everything after there, and the fact that none of the damage that we see from the stern is replicated on the bow, that means that when the stern just blew up, it was already separated from the bow.
Okay.
It was already they had already separated, gone different ways. And then the stern, what I believe happened is we had 2 depth charges inadvertently explode.
As it was going down?
Yes. The mast was also found. That's a no-brainer. So the mast is in the debris field. And The two outer shells of the funnels are in the debris field. At least the top half of funnel 1 and almost all of funnel 2. The metal shell around the uptake is in the debris field.
Okay.
So all that stuff sticking up was torn away. Mount 53 was torn away, Mount 54 was torn away, and we found Mount 55 in pieces.
So this is the picture I showed you.
Yeah, that's Mount 53.
That
one right there.
This is that guy right there.
Yes.
Okay. And then
And I can show you why later.
when we get up there?
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe we should just go up there.